Here are your Court News Ohio top stories in 5 minutes. The line was down the block and around the corner in Canton to tour one of the oldest courthouses in Ohio, with artists painting on the sidewalk and music playing in the heart of the Arts District. Residents celebrated the 200th anniversary of the Stark County Courthouse. Ohio Supreme Court Justice William O'Neill delivered a speech at the bicentennial celebration.
The work that all of you have accomplished on this building is beyond words.
Justice O'Neill used to work in the Stark County Courthouse as the state's Assistant Attorney General at a time when the steel mills were booming.
It's quite a historic place for law in Ohio, and I was in the middle of that in the 80s.
Inside the courthouse, visitors were treated to historical exhibits as well as films and presentations.
It's a beautiful building, and people here take a lot of pride in it.
The courthouse was built in 1870, featuring the Trumpeters of Justice statues. Former President William McKinley argued cases here. The courthouse underwent a massive $10.5 million renovation in 1995.
It's a thrill. It's a thrill. This is a big deal in my mind in the judiciary. You look at, we've got a building that's been doing its job for 200 years, and it stands out in the middle of a major city, says this is where justice is dispensed. And I'm so glad they brought it back to its old glory.
As all the judges who worked in this courthouse pose for a picture, historians hope this building will be a pillar of justice for more celebrations to come. The Ohio Supreme Court declined to block the state of Ohio from recovering $60 million from the state's largest online charter school. In a 6-1 decision, justices denied the request from the Electronic Classroom of Tomorrow, or ECOT. The court offered no written opinion, only a denial of ECOT's request. The Ohio Department of Education voted that ECOT must pay back the money because the school can't prove that thousands of students spent a certain amount of time logged on to online classes. The Supreme Court's decision is the latest in a months-long fight in Ohio courts between the ODE and the online school. Justice Judith French walked a group of Ohio State University Mandela Washington Fellows through an overview of how justice is done at the Ohio Supreme Court. The Ohio State University is hosting the young African leaders with a 6-week academic program on Ohio State's main campus. This group practices in the medical field, but had many questions on how the law is carried out in the United States, specifically here in Ohio.
As to what basically inspires her to, what's the most significant case that she's ever had that inspires her to do what she does. And her response was about the constitutional law, and I actually think that that is the basis of everything because it affects all walks of life.
From law to politics, Justice French was impressed by the wide array of questions.
I think the most surprising was the Amnesty International question, where I was asked, do we work with organizations like Amnesty International, essentially to make sure that we can release our opinions peacefully? And boy, what an eye-opening question.
Mandela fellow B.I. Haban said he's grateful for what he learned so he can go back to Somalia and help organizations fight for justice, especially for women.
Our system of justice were distracted. So, and we had, some experiences that how operates in Ohio Supreme Court, which we can just go back and then adapt in our system here in our countries.
While not an attorney, Kenyana says her country, Kenya, is in the middle of a transformation.
I come from a country where the legal system is actually being revamped, and we are trying to adopt a system of transparency.
Justice French said the group's questions rejuvenate her enthusiasm for the American court system.
It makes me appreciate it even more than I already do of when somebody even referred to the United States judicial system as the benchmark. With all that's happening in the world, that's a nice thing to hear.
That's a look at Court News Ohio's top stories. Visit courtnewsohio.gov for the latest headlines on Ohio's courts. You can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter.